Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Basement Library, where we have much fun most of the time over here at Nicholas Kotar's Patreon community. Welcome to our weekly Friday live stream. Today we are discussing, it's going to be a bit of a author's life update, Patreon life update, and we're going to discuss the revitalization, the rebirth, the resurrection, the something of the book club, of the Good Books for Great Lives book club, which was one of the first offerings that this Patreon community ever had, and it certainly has been one of the most popular and the one of the most that keeps one of the ones that keeps people coming back. So, as you know, hopefully all of you, maybe some of you, last year I got sick for the first time in my life with an ailment of my voice, and I realized, not surprisingly, that my voice is pretty much what determines my income. I pretty much live on my voice. That is true of all the blah, blah, blah talking I do into the camera, but even more so, it's true of the singing that I do in church and in concert halls. And so when that went, a lot of things had to go because the doctor was quite unequivocal. This is a problem of overuse. So it actually went on for about 6 months. And only right around the time of Easter did things start to come back more or less 100%. It's still touch and go every once in a while if I'm not careful and if I don't hydrate properly, if I overtrain with my physical exertion, I can still sometimes get to a point in the end of the day when my voice gets a bit um, growly, and Baba Yaga does tend to take a toll on my voice. But of course, that's who she is. She is the toll taker. She is the one who takes the money as you cross the river Styx, if we're going to mix our mythologies as well as our metaphors. But all that to say, I've missed the book club. I know that some of you have as well. We got into a bit of a rut. The issue, at least partially, was a difficulty in finding the right time to do it, because we have people that are international and all over the place in terms of times and in terms of availability. The best time for everybody was on a late evening for me, usually on a Friday, which with the father of four in a rather boisterous life situation, especially now that we are actually considering possibly moving to a new place, things do tend to get very messy and tiring by the end of a Friday. And more often than not, I've had to cancel just because of sicknesses, of children's issues, and or just being simply too tired to do it. So I've this was one of the things that I let go, and I really didn't want to let go of it because it was such a vital component, I think, of this community, such as it is. And I love the camaraderie. I love the opportunity to hear what you guys think about wonderful literature, and I've loved the opportunity to explore books that I haven't read before. And for the most part, pretty much all of them have been really positive experiences of learning new stories, of encountering new authors, and of talking about it with people who love this stuff. So I've been talking to friends, I've been talking to acquaintances, and to see, is there a way that we can make this happen? There's going to be less prone to the kinds of disasters that it has been prone to previously. And I think I've come up with a way to do this that is actually going to be workable and positive for everybody. So here is the plan for the revitalized book club. Our platform, as you know, is going to be on Patreon, and we do have a Discord server for those of you who don't know, which originally was set up as a discussion board for the books that we read in the book club. And since then, I've expanded it a little bit to include other things that are included within the Patreon community. But originally, it was still a place to discuss the books that we read. And actually, there's an archive of conversations that we've had about all the books that we've read in this book club. So that is still there. Nothing has happened to it. It's still vital, useful information for those of you who want to go back and see what kinds of fun things that we had to say about the books that we read. And we're going to continue on the Discord as well as on Patreon itself. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to be less dependent on the Zoom social that used to happen once every 2 weeks and eventually once every month. because that's probably the most difficult thing to happen consistently, simply because of the people that we have all over the world, all the way Norway, from Norway all the way to California. So it is always going to be an issue. In order to prevent that from becoming the big problem, what we're going to do is we're going to divide each book that we read into weekly reading segments, or assignments, if you want to call them. And I'm going to post a weekly discussion video directly on Patreon. It's not going to be very long. It's going to be about 10 minutes or so, maybe 15, covering the excerpt that we read and sharing my thoughts, my sort of insider thoughts about that section of the book. In that video post, which is going to be on Patreon, like I mentioned, I will also include specific discussion questions that you can answer both in the comments for that post specifically on Patreon, and I will also post those discussion questions in the relevant server on Discord itself. So that's going to happen once every week, and hopefully that kind of frequency of new posting, new material, even if it's not live, will give you an opportunity all to read together, to discuss, and at least to have that sense of community in a text-based form, if not on video. We will, however, meet in person on Zoom as we have before. It's just not going to be as often. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a quarterly live social, a party that is going to not simply be limited to the books that we read, but it's going to be an opportunity for everybody in the community to get together. And we're going to talk about the books that we've read. We're going to talk about updates in my writing life. We're going to talk about new books. We're going to talk about anything you like. It's an opportunity for people to come together and just have a good time. And that one will be determined by you. The time will be determined by you. I will post times that are going to be comfortable for everybody in every possible time zone. And whatever time wins, that's what we're going to go with, even if it's a time zone that's difficult for me. I'm going to commit to making that a possibility. And by convincing myself that it is a party and calling it a social, I think it's going to be not difficult for me to actually show up. And if it's not a monthly commitment, that's also going to make it more likely. I will also occasionally post videos of me reading aloud certain excerpts from the text. This is in addition to the discussion videos I will post every month. This is especially going to be the case at the beginning of each book, and I will invite you all to take those videos and share them on social media. Invite other people to come and join us, because the more, the merrier, as always. You can share them on YouTube, you can share them on Facebook, you can share them on Instagram, wherever you like. And as I mentioned, we will actually keep that archive of previous discussions on Discord. And I will also set up archive pages for each book after we're done, including all links to all the videos, all the discussion videos, and a link to the social in distinct web pages on nicholaskotar.com directly. And those will be part of your Patreon perks. They're going to be not available widely. They're going to be available only to you. And if you want to share them with someone else, you're more than welcome to. Again, the more, the merrier, as always. Ben is asking, would you be posting short video responses as well? You're more than welcome to. Absolutely. If you have access, if you have a desire to do that, please do. You can do that using Loom. You can do that using YouTube. And I believe you can actually leave video responses on Discord, or at least you can leave audio responses on Discord, as far as I know. So feel free to use whatever medium you prefer. I wouldn't mind that. I think that'd be kind of fun if we managed to do that. All right, so that's the format of the new book club. It's going to be more frequent posting, but less frequent in person. I think it's going to be more sustainable, and I think it's going to be helpful in keeping the momentum going on this, because that certainly has been a problem in the past. We all enter a book with a lot of excitement, but then we hit the slog in the middle, and it's largely been my fault. I will agree. Now, what about the book? Which book will we read? Well, in the previous instantiation of this book club, we did talk about doing Susanna Clarke's Doorstopper, Jonathan Norrell and Mr. Strange. And I'd like to do that at some point, definitely. But I don't think we should start a revitalized new book club with something that involved. It is a very thick book. It's a wonderful book, and I think we'd have a wonderful discussion of it. But we're going to, yes, perhaps fewer roach killers, as Seraphim says. We're going to set that aside. I actually want to be honest with you all. This week has been a very interesting one for me. It's been full of a lot of highs and a lot of lows, as is often the case. in Shea Kotar. What can I say? This is how we live for some reason. But amongst the highs were some really interesting developments in the world of writing and publishing for myself personally, and for people who are involved in the St. Basil's writing writers workshop community. We can talk about that later if you all want to ask me questions about that during this live stream. That's fine, but I'm going to stick to the topic for now. But amongst those things, I had to take an afternoon to do some vision casting, as Michael Hyatt would say, basically to figure out all the different things that I do in my life, and really try to limit how much of a double-minded man I am. As the general epistle to James goes, it's not a good thing to be a double-minded man, and that's certainly true if you're not just double, but quadruple and quintuple-minded, which is always the case with this crazy person over here. But anyway, in that process of putting together, just looking at all the things I'm doing and seeing how I could combine them, limit them, delegate them, what to focus on, I came up against a really bizarre question that just floated up, bubbled up from the depths. And that question was to myself. It was me asking a question of myself, and it was, why are you ashamed to talk about your own books? And it surprised me. That question surprised me when it came up, because it's true. I do have a very marked tendency to not want to talk about my books to other people. And it's funny because I'm happy to talk about storytelling. I'm happy to talk about Russian fairy tales. I'm happy to talk for 8 hours straight about Rings of Power. Happy to talk about all these things, and I'm not particularly afraid of criticism when it comes to me talking about those things. I don't mind people disagreeing with my ideas when I'm talking about the beauty of stories. I'm okay with people disagreeing with my take on the Ring of Power. But I've noticed, and the question is, are you afraid? Am I afraid of people criticizing my own novels? And initially I thought, no, why? I mean, you take criticism, you accept what's true, you try to implement it, and the rest you ignore. But it's true though. I am afraid of it, as it turns out. There is a bit of shame in doing what we writers do. We expose our hearts to you all because our novels are the deepest parts of us. The things that I put in the novel are really, really deep engagements with real life. My mom read me a quote of Flannery O'Connor today, where she complained about how people are saying that writing novels is an escape from reality. She says, no, writing a novel is the deepest engagement with reality you can imagine. So much so that my hair falls out and my teeth rot, said Flannery O'Connor. And yeah, if you've read Flannery O'Connor, you can imagine this is probably why her fiction is the way it is, because as she's writing, her hair's falling out and her teeth are rotting. That's not quite so bad with me, but it certainly is a very, very deep engagement with reality. And when you're opening yourself up, your heart to the whole world, I guess there is an element of pride in that fear of having your deepest self open to criticism. Why am I talking about this? Because I've had enough of being sick of my own books. And so I'm announcing that the revitalized beginning of the book club will be a book club of The Song of the Siren. We're going to read my first novel together. And I'm going to open up the vault and I'm going to let you in on all the little secret things that happen in book one of my Raven Sun series. Some of you have been asking for this for a while, so hopefully you're happy about it. But I'm very excited. Initially, I was like, "No, I'm never doing that." But it's time for me to go through that series again, because I'm getting to very close to a point where I'm going to start the new fantasy series, which is the sequel series to the Raven Sun series. And let's be honest, I don't really remember what happened in a lot of the first few novels. They wrote them a long time ago. So here we are. We're going to start the book club with a reading of the Song of the Siren for everyone. And I'm going to be opening it up to as many people as want to learn about the Song of the Siren. It's still going to be behind the paywall of Patreon, but I'm going to be making a bit of a push to get people in to the Patreon, because I think this is something that will interest a lot of people. Not only that, but everybody who is in this Patreon community will get a free Spotify download code for the audiobook of the Song of the Siren. For for the book club, for purposes of the book club. And if it goes well, maybe we'll go on to the rest of the series, but I'm open to suggestion on that part. But all of you are going to be getting a free download code of a free Spotify download code of the Song of the Syrian. So if you want other people to come in, maybe your friends that you wanted to share this with, let them know that I'll be handing those out. That'll be only happening during the first week of the book club's opening, which will start next week. So that's what we have in store with this book club. In future, when we do other authors, especially if those authors are living authors, I'm going to include interviews with those authors as part of the book club, and I'm going to ask that there be some sort of a giveaway of merch, books, swag, and other things that the author can provide for us. So that's also something to look forward to in the near future. And I'm not averse to reaching out to more popular and well-known authors. Whether or not they say yes is a different story, but I am not afraid of reaching out to them. So keep those suggestions in your back pocket. Think about what you might want to read over the course of the next year or so. But we are starting with the Song of the Syrian, and we are starting next week. So look for a post on Monday about your first reading assignment. And by the end of that week, by the end of next week, you'll have your first analysis video from me, where I'm going to be, again, opening up the vault and letting you know about all the little things that the author puts in as he or she writes. That's it for today's live stream. If you have any questions, I will keep this live stream open for a little while. But that's our theme. That's the announcement. Let people know. I'm going to be posting about this on social media shortly, and hopefully this is something that you will all come for and be excited to share with me, because I certainly am excited to share it with you all.